Hello, bienvenue. Welcome to our second Dream-a-thon online fundraising event. It's heartwarming to gather with such a great group of people as people come in through our waiting room and join us here and on Facebook Live. It's just such an exciting evening for us, an evening of entertainment and dreams. And as we do this, I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathering on Abogwait, the unceded and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq, who for thousands of years have been stewards of this land and the water surrounding it. It is in the spirit of reconciliation and recognition of the vast knowledge that the Mi'kmaq people bring that we must move forward with our dreams for this island. My name's Susan Hartley. I'm the president of the Green Party of Prince Edward Island and one of the hosts for this evening. We have an amazing lineup for you today. We have a dozen local artists, some who will be familiar to you and some who will be new faces, who have come together to contribute music and storytelling to our Dream-a-thon. We're so lucky to have such talent here on PEI supporting our Green Party's vision and values and hopes and dreams. Our Green Caucus members will also be making short appearances throughout the evening, talking about what they dream of accomplishing with your support. We're so proud of the work that our Green MLAs have been doing. And if you've been watching the legislature, which I highly recommend, or reading the news or our newsletters, you'll know exactly what I mean. I think you might find a few surprises thrown in with our MLAs too. So I'm looking forward to seeing that myself. I'd like to turn it over now to our party leader, Peter Bevan-Baker. Peter.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Susan, for that lovely introduction. And you may ask, well, why are we doing a Dream-a-thon? Of course, it was 2 years ago, back in 2020, when we did our very first one. It was enormously successful. And it was a huge amount of fun. And one of the challenges that we have had, of course, through COVID has been in maintaining contacts between ourselves and managing to do all of the things that a political party typically does. And Susan mentioned our work in the legislature, and of course that has gone on uninterrupted. But so many of the other things that we do, all of those connections that we create in our communities, which is in politics is so much about connections, they've all been severed as a result of COVID. So one of the critical things that allows any organization, actually, and a political party is no different, is being able to create that lifeblood of funds to keep us going. I mean, it's always an awkward thing to ask people for money, but it's less awkward when you believe so deeply in what you're doing and when you know that every single cent that comes in is going to be used carefully and thoughtfully and for a very good cause. Last time we raised a lot of money, and it's our hope today that we're going to do exactly the same again, and to fill our, what we like to call our hope chest. I know politics is full of war analogies and terminology, but for Greens, of course, we try to stay away from the combative side of politics, and we'd like to create hope, and this Dream-a-thon is part of that. So our goal is firstly to have a huge amount of fun, to reconnect with our members in a way that we just have not been able to do. I mean, the Green Party has been a bit like rural internet on Prince Edward Island. It's been intermittent, it's been unreliable, and the connection has not always been great over the last couple of years. And we've tried really hard, but we haven't managed to do it. And this is one way that we can, at least to a certain extent, replace that loss of connectivity. So I'm really glad that you're with us today for this event. I particularly want to thank off the top somebody you've already seen, Susan Hartley, the president of the party, who just is unbelievable in her commitment to so many great causes, and we're incredibly grateful to have her as the president of the party. And behind the scenes, although somebody you will see very shortly, is Jordan Bobber, who's the executive director of the Island Green Party and is always tinkering and making things like this work beautifully. So thank you specifically to those two. There will be many other thanks due to others along the way, but thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful time.
Well, thank you very much, Peter. And so I'm just going to come in now and tell you a little bit about how you could support the Green Party's work during the Dream-a-thon tonight. So I'm going to ask Justin, our tech guy here, if you'd bring up the slides for me. Awesome. I see they're coming up. So throughout the evening, we'll invite you to support the work and the future of the PEI Green Party by contributing anything that feels right to you. And so I'd like to take this opportunity to remind you that the donations to the Green Party of Prince Edward Island are eligible for some very generous PEI income tax credits. For instance, did you know that, oh, and actually, Justin, I think if you back up to the previous slide, I believe it has, this is, yeah, there you go. So, oh, no, back up again. So did you know that the first $100, for example, that you donate in any given year, you get $75 back as a tax credit. So it only ends up costing you $25. And the tax credits actually continue all the way up until you reach $1,150. So you've got this table here that shows you just what your tax credit would be, which means that it's actually, you can afford to donate more than you might think, actually, to the Green Party. We're also really, we also want to remind you that any donation of at least $10 makes you eligible for a membership in the Green Party of Prince Edward Island. So that's something that you can always request if you make a donation and you'd like to be a member. If you're not already one, just let us know and we'd be happy to make you a member. That allows you to vote at our meetings, nomination meetings. We've got actually an AGM coming up in just over a month on May the 7th. And you'll get to actually help to shape Green Party policy by voting on policy resolutions that are coming up. And another thing that we would really love to encourage is for you to consider joining our evergreen donors with a small monthly contribution. Our evergreen donors have really been the drivers for the Green Party for the last number of years. They've really helped us to have that consistency in income to be able to plan and invest into the long term. And Justin, if you can go over to the next slide, that will show the monthly tax credits for monthly contributions. So as you can see, if you start a monthly contribution of even just $10, your actual cost by the time you factor in the tax credit is only $2.92 a month. So basically a cup of coffee a month, but it really brings a lot to the party. And if you go to the next slide, Justin, here are the different ways that you can donate. And don't worry, we will remind you of this at various times throughout the evening, so you don't have to memorize all of this, but we've got our website. You can go to greenparty.pe.ca/Dream-a-thon donate. Or if you can't remember that, just go to our website and click on the donate button. That will work too. You can also call us at 1-855-PE-GREEN. And that we've got a number of volunteers, including members of our some of our MLAs that will be there waiting to take your call, and they can help you with a donation over the phone. You can also text 902-905-5330. Text the word donate to that number, and that will return a link to our donation page as well. So remember, text donate to 902-905-5330. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it back over now to Susan, and she's going to introduce our very first contributor for tonight.
Thank you, Jordan. So as Jordan says, our phones are open and our volunteers are standing by Thank you to Maria, Chris, Carla, and Trish for personing those phones. Yes, so it is my great pleasure to introduce a very good friend and no stranger to any of us, Julie Pelletier-Lush. Julie's an actress and best-selling author of My Mi'kmaq Mother. She's a poet laureate for PEI. She writes, acts, does photography to preserve the history and culture of the Mi'kmaq for future generations. She's an amazing storyteller and keeper of the Mi'kmaq heritage and knowledge. So I'd like to introduce Julie to do an opening prayer, a story, and a song for us.
Gwe, Jalasi, Ndeluisi Julie. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Julie. I am Mi'kmaq, and I reside in this beautiful unceded territory known as Mi'kma'ki, and I would like to welcome all of you in peace and friendship. And for my portion to get started in a good way, I'm thinking of sharing a poem / opening prayer just to get everybody's hearts, minds, and souls all together so that we can do this and learn from each other and share with each other. And it goes like this: Jigaway Niskam, which means come to me, Creator. I'm asking my ancestors to come with me so that they will know exactly the words that I need to say at this moment. Thank you, Creator, for the gifts you have given us, for the gifts you continue to give us. Thank you for love, for being able to have love, give love, and recover from the loss of love. Thank you for courage, to be able to look inside ourselves and keep telling our truths, even when it hurts. Thank you for wisdom, to know that we are going down the right path and to know what we need to share. Thank you for truth, to be able to hear the truth, share the truth, and know that it comes from a good place. Thank you for humility, to know that we are not alone and that we must look after each other and take care of one another. Thank you for honesty, to believe in the things that we cannot see or touch, but we know in our hearts is real. Thank you for respect, to know that everything is a gift that we must treasure. We must respect ourselves and others. Thank you for the gifts that you have given us, for being with us in the good times and in the bad. Edasu, midawajich, migadadasit, compt enfant important, every child matters. And now I want to share a quick story, very, very quickly. This was a story that was told to me by my dad, and I asked him to send me the story because I felt it had such a deep meaning, and this is a perfect place to share it. Now, my dad lives in Pinewa, Manitoba, just about an hour north of Winnipeg. And about 5 years ago, he was outside and he heard this huge commotion. All these crows started going in this oblong circle at the top of his like 30-foot trees. And they were going faster and faster and cawing all the time as they're doing this pattern. And he would watch 1 or 2 of these crows in the pattern because there was probably about 30 or 40 crows. He'd never seen so many crows doing something quite that strange. And then within this pattern, 1 or 2 would drop down and caw on their own, and they would come about halfway down the tree and they'd sort of keep in that pattern, but a little bit lower, and then go back up again and start cawing frantically. And my dad said he'd never seen anything like it. And after about 10 minutes, a few of them left the circle and flew off. And a little while later, a few more were in the circle and they flew off too. And after about 20 minutes, the whole backyard was quiet again. And he couldn't understand it. And my father's 76 years old and he lives in nature. He loves nature. He spent all of his time canoeing in the wilderness and all these things, but he'd never seen this before. So he goes to a church out there in Pinewa, and he was talking to a few of the people there in the congregation. And one of the older ladies came over and said, I heard your story about the crows. And she said, I've seen this only maybe 1 or 2 times. And this woman, being around 85 years old, was pretty sure of what he'd seen. And he said, well, what was it? one of their crows had passed away. So this was their way of having a crow funeral. They all gather, they all caw as loud as they can. They have one universal pattern that they all share. And when one is overwhelmed, they'll drop out of the group, but they'll keep in the pattern and then rejoin when they can. And my dad was just amazed at the thought that this possibly could have been the very first time he'd seen something like this. And he thought, if a crow with a brain probably, I imagine their head size isn't very big and their brain isn't very big. If they have the ability to express grief in such a way and have emotions in that kind of way, and to create a pattern, a unified pattern of all crows that do this, we as human beings have the right to feel our emotions. We as human beings have the right to express our emotions. And he thought, what an amazing way to share that thought with everybody who wanted to hear this story, that we are able to feel what we feel. We are allowed to, if crows are allowed to create patterns of grief, rituals of saying goodbye, then we're allowed to too, right? So when I heard that story, I knew that I had to share it, and I knew that maybe it would resonate with somebody and they would feel allowed to feel the feelings that they're feeling, because they are valid and they are worthy of expressing. And in these times with COVID, when we are sort of trapped in our own little cubicles, little isolated spots, I mean, it's harder to reach out and find somebody to express these things. We don't have groups that we can go in a beautiful oblong pattern and yell at the wind at the unfairness of things. But just know you're not alone. We're all in this together. And I want to end off with a quick song. And this song is a gathering song. And I'm so glad to be able to share this, even though it's virtual. I want everybody to know that this is calling the ancestors. And if they need any help or anybody to talk to, that they will be there. So this is the Mi'kmaq Gathering Song. Way-ha, way-hi-ya, way-oh, hey. Way-ha, way-hi-ya, way-oh, hey. Why-ya, hey-oh, way-hi-ya, hey-ya. Guess cook now, Maui-o-me. Why-ya, hey-oh, Jagui-donna, no-gama. Why-ya, hey-oh, back with a day, Molly, I guess cook now, Maui-o-me. Why-ya, hey-oh, way-hi-ya, hey-ya, guess cook now, Maui-o-me. Why-ya, hey-oh, Jagui-donna, no-gama. Why-ya, hey-oh, back with a day, Molly, I guess cook now, Maui-o-me. Why-ya, hey-oh. Walalio, Walalio, thank you so very much. May we give thanks to our ancestors for sitting with us, for our grandparents, for giving us the teachings that we need to continue, and for everyone here for supporting and being such a presence today. Walalio, thank you so much.
And thank you, Julie, so much. It's such a gift, and what a lovely way to begin this evening. You know, since we're calling this event Dream-a-thon, and it's all about the dreams that we have for a better Abagway to better PEI and a better world, the role that the political action can play in making it a better world, let's go straight to an instrumental rendition of Dream a Little Dream of Me, one of my favorite songs, and probably what you heard as you were waiting to come into the show tonight. And this is by none other than Green Party leader Peter Bevan Baker with local musician David Whipper. We'll be doing a more full introduction of David later in the show because you're going to be seeing a little bit more of him and of his family. So I'm going to turn it over now to Peter and David for Dream a Little Dream.
Hey, that was that was really awesome. This is Jordan Bobber back here, and I'm going to ask Lynn Lund, Deputy Leader of the Green Party, to join me.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you liking the Dream-a-thon so far?
Do you know what, Jordan? To be honest with you, Dream-a-thons feel like the perfect theme because I got involved with the Green Party because I love big ideas. And I think that's true for so many Greens, isn't it? We have this love of big ideas and that visual of being able to dream together collectively about what's possible is really the perfect image, isn't it?
I think so. And so speaking of some of those big ideas, what are you dreaming about these days? I mean, you've got a couple of years under your belt of being elected as an MLA, and you've done a lot of great things, but I'm sure that there's still a lot more that you're aching to get to.
Well, I definitely appreciate you saying that. I'm dreaming of when we can have these conversations in person again. Oh my goodness, I miss that. That's one of the things I miss the most about being around Greens is having those wonderful conversations and getting to deep dive on what's possible and having those tangible ideas. But, you know, the other thing that I dream about is the idea that PEI is governed by a party for whom it's about people is more than a tagline, but where that truly considering islanders and people and the planet they live on is actually at the heart of all of the decisions that are made, and that we can see that in action. That is what I am dreaming about. It's no secret that in the last year, I have been dreaming about justice reforms. And I'm delighted to be able to tell you that I'm now aware of at least 2 other provinces that are going to be bringing forward legislation to change and limit NDAs in Canada in the next year. So that's hugely exciting. And it really reminds me specifically of what's possible about Prince Edward Island. It's one of those really unique things about our province where we are so small that we can be nimble, that we can be creative, that we can lead the way. And we're big enough to be noticed when we're doing it. And NDAs are just one example of how that's possible. But it really opens the door to the possibility for that in so many other areas. And that's an opportunity I honestly don't think governments have really taken to heart. That opportunity that we can lead on topics that matter to islanders, that matter to Canadians, and that we don't have to wait for someone else to go first. And I think about that with climate action all the time, that it's one of those opportunities for us to reimagine our relationships with each other, our relationships with the planet, with the economy, and what's possible. And I find that so exciting. It's really not a moment for passive leadership. It's a moment for new ideas. And I believe that that is how Greens right across the board feel. And that's why we need Greens in the legislature. We need people who are prepared to move forward on those big ideas. Working on behalf of Islanders, on behalf of Greens, on behalf of our districts is the honor of our lives. And I can tell you, there's not a day that goes by where we're not having conversations like that when we're together about how lucky we are to do this work and how important it is that we bring the voices of Islanders to our work. And that's why nights like tonight are so important, because we need to be ready for whenever the Tories decide we're going back to the polls. We are prepared to work tirelessly in the House. We've been working since we've gotten elected, but it takes money to run elections. And it takes nights like tonight to make sure that we're in the best possible position. I am so grateful to the people who are donating their talent and sharing their skills with us. I am so grateful to the people who have given up their time to come and join us for tonight. And, you know, we've always been funded by people like you, always, even when corporate donations were a possibility, that just was never a possibility for us, because we really believe we need to be funded by people like you, those people with big visions and big dreams for what our island should be. If you've been around the party for a while, then you know I have too. And I can tell you that we are consistently spending less than any other political party, but we also consistently get more done in the legislature than any other political party. So by my mind, we're a good investment. We make sure that we get the best bang for those dollars. So anyone who is willing to contribute tonight, whether that's $10 or $100 or $1,000, we value every donation as if it were our own dollars. And we thank you so much. Please continue dreaming along with us so we are in the best position to make sure we take advantage of that gift that we have of being small and nimble and able to change quickly. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And yeah, I do think we're a pretty good bang for your buck as far as investments go. Not only because of what your dollar will accomplish with the within the Green Party, but because of the tax credits that you get back, which I was telling you about at the top of the show. Now, and my handy little background here, you'll see that there are a few different options for donating. You can donate by calling us at 1-855-PE Green, and we've got a number of volunteers that are standing by to take your call. You can text the word donate to 902-905-5330, and that will get you a little donation link straight to our website. So that's nice and easy. You can donate over the phone. And I see that Justin's just put some of those details in the chat as well, including the website address where you can donate specifically towards the Dream-a-thon's goals here tonight. So I'm going to turn it back over to Susan now to introduce our next performer.
Thanks, Jordan, and thanks, Lynn. And I would encourage any of you who want to have a great conversation to connect with Lynn or any of the other MLAs. It's one of my favorite things to do. Also, I noticed people are sharing reactions, so please don't be shy. Go ahead. You know, you can do a clap, a heart, a thumbs up, you know, just share your reactions, because we can't do it in person. If we were in person, we'd be cheering and elbowing and nudging and stuff, but you can do that with those reactions. So again, it's a real privilege to introduce our next performer, Teresa Doyle. Teresa is one of PEI's brightest musical stars and has been for a long time, not only on PEI, but across the world. She is well known for both her traditional folk singing, her jazz, and for her songs about contemporary issues. She's also run as a Green Party candidate, both federally and provincially. And she's a wonderful volunteer who helped organize this event. You know, Teresa performed in our first Dream-a-thon 2 years ago, where she debuted her wonderful song, Loophole Lament. And I would encourage any of you to try to find that. You will be able to find that and have a listen. It's about the failure of successive Liberal and PC governments to close the loopholes that have allowed powerful people and corporations to take and use more than their fair share of PEI's land and water. Today, Teresa's once again sharing a new song with us, a song called Songs for a Small Planet, which is part of a larger project. And I'm going to let her tell you more about that now. So here's our friend Teresa.
Hi, my name is Teresa Doyle, and this song is called Songs for a Small Planet. Songs for a Small Planet is also a project involving a bunch of Prince Edward Island artists. And we are writing songs about the kind of planet that we would like to see. And we have a concert coming up at Trailside Music Hall on April 19th with Scott Parsons, Amanda Jackson, Todd McLean, and myself. So be sure to get a ticket. And there will be other concerts down the road with Catherine McClellan, Dennis Ellsworth, Emmanuel Leblanc, Tanya Davis, and all kinds of amazing songwriters from around the province. And all of us are also reaching out to our international peers to encourage them to also write songs for a small planet. Okay, that's it. Here we go. Oh, this little instrument, because you asked, is called a merlin, and it's made in Quebec from a single stick of maple, and it's kind of like a simplified dulcimer. Yeah. Here we go. We're on a small planet spinning around, chasing our tails without our feet on the ground, looking for joy in all the wrong places, walking around lonely faces. Now I got a house and a bit of land, I've got too much stuff and I can't understand why we strive for more when we have so much. What we truly crave is human touch, time together, human touch, the simple pleasures like a walk on the beach or a hike in the woods, all the little things that make us feel so good, like human touch. Every other species has it figured out. They don't borrow trouble or look for doubt, but our minds are busy with 1,000 things, and we're blind to the beauty the moment brings. Like human touch, time together, human touch, the simple pleasures like a walk on the beach or a hike in the woods, all the little things that make us feel so good, like human touch. We're suffering late stage, capital can be a beacon of light for a human touch. Time together, human touch, and simple pleasures like a walk on the beach or a hike in the woods. All the little things that make us feel so good, like human touch. Human touch. Time together, human touch, and simple pleasures like a walk on the beach or a hike in the woods. All the little things that make us feel so good, like human touch. Let's put an end to late stage capitalist psychosis, left untreated. It's a grim prognosis. Embrace the cure, find a new way to live. Stop taking so much and learn how to give. We're on a small planet spinning around. We're finally getting our feet on the ground.
All right, that was lovely, in spite of my little blooper at the beginning. I'm sorry, Teresa. I really thought I had edited that out. Good thing we weren't saying anything bad. So I'm going to invite Trish Altas, another one of our intrepid Green Caucus members, to join me here.
Hi, Jordan.
Hi,
Thank
Trish.
you.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And hello, everyone who's joining us this evening. It is such a pleasure to be able to be a part of this event. And, you know, we have so many fantastic artists who have contributed their talents. It's really quite humbling to have everybody engaged with this. So thank you. Since becoming the critic for economic growth, tourism, and culture, one thing that I've noticed throughout the province's economic plans and strategies is that there's a lack of focus on improving working conditions and the well-being of workers. I find this strange and quite disappointing because we often hear about the labor shortages that we are facing in so many areas. And I think that a key part of starting to try to address those shortages really needs to be looking at the perspective of workers and what it is they need to thrive. So as I hear from more and more workers in all different sectors across the island, I find myself dreaming of a PEI where all workplaces are safe and free from harassment and discrimination, where all workers are paid a living wage and have consistent hours, where all workers can take a day off when they need to, when they are sick or when they need to care for a loved one, without losing pay that may make it difficult for them to pay their bills or to put healthy food on the table. It's critical that we realize the connection between the well-being of our island workers and the well-being of our communities, the well-being of our society, and the impact on our social systems and programs like our healthcare system and our education system when our workers are unable to thrive. As we move forward and strive to build back better, I will continue to bring forward the well-being of workers in the legislature every chance I get so that we can make PEI the best place to live and work for everyone. So I'm going to be on the phones for the rest of the evening. So if you are in a position where you're able to make a donation of any size, it is so appreciated. And as was mentioned earlier this evening by my colleague Lynn Lund, we will always be responsible with that, with all the donations that come in, because we, as a party, that's just a critical part of how we function. I can't tell you how much we appreciate your support, and you know, maybe I'll get to hear from some of you on the phone soon. All right, have a lovely evening, everyone.
Hey, thank you so much, Trish. And yes, you heard it from Trish. If you call, you might be lucky enough to actually get her on the other end of the phone to take your donation. Now, I'm just going to point up here to above my head where you can see all the different ways that you can donate. You can donate by phone, 1-855-PE Green. You can donate by texting the word donate to 902-905-5330. Or you can go to our website, greenparty.pe.ca/donate. Dream-a-thon donate, of course. And I see that there is an update just posted that we are up to $1,600 in donations so far. So that is a wonderful start. Thank you very much to everybody who has donated tonight. Okay, so let us go. I'm going to turn it back over to Susan to introduce us to our next performer.
Thanks, Jordan and Trish. And yeah, let's get that thermometer up. Teresa mentioned the people that she's working with for Songs for a Small Planet, and who will be performing at the Trailside later this month. And one of those other musicians is Scott Parsons, who also would be a very familiar face and voice to all of you in PEI. And on the world music scene. He's a multidisciplined island musician who has consistently utilized his accomplishment to enrich both himself and the entire community. His involvement with theater, film, radio, and television has sparked an artistic creativity that carries over to his work, especially with disabled and high priority youth. And it's a real pleasure to introduce Scott. He's going to share with us a song called One Spanish Dollar from his 2014 album, The Old Stock, Songs of Black History from Prince Edward Island. He's joined by his bandmates Spencer Soladuca on keyboard, Michael Peters on guitar, and Sam Laird on percussion. So thank you to all of you for joining us tonight.
So this is One Spanish Dollar. One Spanish dollar, an English half crown, one stole bread and butter, the other 5 pounds, some fish for his mother, and till they be dead, the family was outraged at the price that they paid. Like Peter and Sancho, hanged for their crimes, travesty of justice on Princess Island. For one Spanish dollar and an English half crown, one stole bread and butter, the other 5 pounds. Like Peter and Sancho, hanged for their crimes, travesty of justice on Princess Island. For one Spanish dollar and an English half crown, one stole bread and butter, the other 5 pounds. Like Peter and Sancho, hanged for their crimes, travesty of justice on Princess Island. For one Spanish dollar and an English half crown, one stole bread and butter, the other 5 pounds. dead of morning, the hours before dawn, like Peter and Sancho would soon be beyond. Their poor hearts would tremble in fear all the while. The hangman awaits them on Prince Edward's Isle. One Spanish dollar, an English half crown, one stole bread and butter, the other 5 pounds. Like Peter and Sancho, both hanged for their crimes. Travelers, do you justice on Prince Edward Isle.
Right, that was lovely from Scott Parsons. And I'm now very excited to invite Carla here. So Carla was talking to me earlier because we were chatting about what she wanted to contribute to our Dream-a-thon. Because, you know, some of our MLAs have some hidden talents that you may never have seen in the legislature. For Carla, it turns out that she has a very good sense of humor that keeps all of her colleagues in very good spirits, and I hear about that. And so she's offered to both launch and she thinks possibly end her career tonight with her own comedy routine. She says she's stepping out of her comfort zone, but you know, the last time Carla stepped out of her comfort zone, she got elected as an MLA. So, you know, I'm feeling pretty good about this, Carla.
Well, I'm glad you are.
Okay, good. Well, now that I've made you extremely uncomfortable, how would you like to go ahead with your comedy routine?
I'm doing a really great job making myself uncomfortable, Jordan. So it's kind of awesome that I can't see a whole lot of faces. So I'm just going to, in full disclosure, picture you all as my cousin Jenny, who laughs at everything that I say. So when you get elected, one of the things you find yourself invited to all of the time are golf tournaments, golf fundraisers. And so I've golfed one time at a fundraiser for the Summerside College of Piping, and I golfed with Peter Bevan-Baker and Trish Altas, and Lynn and I shared a cart, and there was some stellar golfing happening that day. And so as I was driving the cart, Lynn would hit a ball and it would go in the woods, and Lynn would hit a ball and it would go in the long grass, and Lynn would hit a ball and it would go in the woods, and it just kept happening after time. And so, being the kind friend golf cart driver that I am, I took it upon myself to get her a new ball every time out of her bag. And I realized after a while, she had this pair of socks in her bag. And so every time I would go get this ball, she'd have this pair of socks. And so I said, Lynn, what's with the socks? And she said, oh, that's just in case I get a hole in one. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's probably not anything that you have to worry about. So I'm not sure, some of you may or may not know, but during my junior high school days, I was a speed swimmer. I was a member of the Summerside Dolphin Swim Club. Anybody? No? Okay. So I thought I'd show you a couple of my trophies I've won. So this is the Patrick Landry Memorial for Top Team Spirit to Carla Bernard. And the other one is the Barb McNeil, one of my heroes, Summerside Dolphin Swim Club, most dedicated swimmer. And so my sweet, loving brother to this day takes the opportunity to point out that neither one of these trophies suggests that I was a speedy swimmer, but I did bring the heart and I did bring the soul to our team. And so a question that people would ask me all the time when I was in swimming was like, how do you keep the water out of your nose? Like when you jump in, when you spin and you do all those things. And I said, well, I plug my nose. And they said, with a nose plug, we didn't notice you wearing a nose plug. And I said, no, I don't have a nose plug. We don't plug your nose. And I said, no, I just do what everybody does. And they said, well, what's that? And I said, I cover my nose with my lip. And they said, what? So I'm going to go on a limb here, folks. This is for some good cash. I'm going to show you my human nose plug. I don't have to worry about getting water in my nose. If anyone else can do that, I'd love for you to turn on your screen. If not, Lynn, quick, call the Guinness Book of World Records, get me in there. So thank you. One time, this was probably pre-COVID, Susan and Chris hosted an event and I went, and I was sitting right next to the bathroom and the walls were really, really thin, so you could hear everything. And so I noticed when Chris went into the washroom, I didn't hear pee. When Susan went into the washroom, I didn't hear pee. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. What do they have in common? And so I sat there for a minute and I thought, well, they're both psychologists. And then it dawned on me, the P is silent. Get it?
Boom, boom.
And so I just thought when Jordan mentioned that when he asked me or asked us all if we would do something, I thought, sure, I could talk about the fact that about how much representation matters and how dedicated that I feel, even more so lately after a lot of reading that I've been doing and a lot of things that have been happening, that representation matters. And so how do we increase diversity in roles of leadership? And so I was going to talk a little bit about that, but decided to really put myself out on a limb and get out of my comfort zone, start and end my comedy career. So I'm going to leave you with one last thought. If two vegans get into an argument, is it called a beef? That's it. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Carla, for showing that our critic for the status of women can hold a dad joke as well as any man. And for the record, I tried the lip thing and I just can't do it. I can't even do it if I push my lips with my fingers. So that is a very special and unique gift that you have there.
It's a very useful gift.
Okay. Among all the other useful gifts in your life. So thank you, that was awesome. I'm going to turn it over back to Susan to introduce another great musical performance.
Thanks, Jordan. If I can stop laughing, I will do that. I am a I can't say it with the P, psychologist, yes. And I've golfed with Carla. So Lynn, I'm so sorry you had to do that. Yeah. And I'm wondering at some point tonight, we're going to ask everybody to turn their cameras on because I'd love to see people's faces. And I'm also going to put a challenge out there. If anybody wants to see Carla put her lip over her nose again, phone our phone lines, make a donation, and she might do it. So I'm really excited about this next musician that I'm introducing because I've never heard him before. And he is one of PEI's brightest emerging musical stars, Lawrence Maxwell. And I'm sure people have heard of Lawrence. To quote from his bio, and Carla, you might relate to some of this, Lawrence Maxwell cut his teeth on beer caps, rough waters, and country music. A 2021 ECMA Award nominee and two-time Music PEI Award winner, this Prince Edward Island singer-songwriter will tell it to you like it's folk and sing it to you like it's country. Today, Lawrence is going to share a beautiful music video he made for his song, We Were the Water. We love the use of PEI's unmistakable scenery in this video, showing that country music goes together naturally with beaches and sand dunes. So use your imagination and be in the water with Lawrence and enjoy his video and his music. Jordan.
Tonight we take the bus to Jupiter. It hasn't seen the road since '83. I'll find myself before I meet you there, tripping lightly on LSD. It's the place we are in, the place we are going, where my thoughts just pass and I don't ask where they've been. The river keeps flowing, and for a moment there, we were the water. Should I ever let it out, what's bottled up inside? Would you meet me by the ocean, send this ship out on the tide? It's killing me not to speak, but words would never do. So I'll just let these tears ride down my cheek. It's the place we are in, the place we are going, where my thoughts just pass and I don't ask where they've been. The river keeps flowing, and for a moment there, we were the water. The people smile as though they understand something we just come to know. Feel surrender as I take your hand, and I'll never let it go, but I've gotta let it go. I've gotta let it go. It's the place we are in, the place we are going, where my thoughts just pass and I don't ask where they've been. The river keeps flowing, and for a moment there, we were the water.
I have to say, as somebody who has genuine Alberta roots and listened to country music on the school bus every day, I can strongly endorse Lawrence Maxwell's PEI brand of country with PEI sand dunes and salt water. I think it's a good mix. So I'm going to ask Steve Howard, our next MLA, to join us now. Steve, yes, I see you're there with us.
I am here. Hello, hello.
How are you doing?
Harper just came out of the hallway there in the background. So you might have heard her a little bit there, but
And
yeah,
that's your daughter, not not Stephen Harper.
She just turned 1. Where does the time go? Boy, oh boy.
Wow.
So yeah, that's my brand spanking new child number 4. Life is busy.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I mean, this has been a great show so far. That was a wonderful video that I just saw there. Very impressive stuff there. good work. I was going to talk about grassroots participatory democracy, and that video just kind of derailed me into thinking about a whole different kind of set of things in my head here. But in any case, what I'd like to talk about is the how proud I was to be able to bring forward something that came from the grassroots participatory democracy process of the Green Party of Prince Edward Island. And we brought that to the legislature, to the floor, and it passed with support from all three colors, blue, red, and green. And we got that motion to create a citizens' assembly to explore the best system of proportional representation for Prince Edward Island. So that to me was one of the highlights of what I've been able to get accomplished here in the time that I've been there. It's been the biggest plus. We almost got some other nice, juicy legislation, in my opinion. Everybody that knows Steve Howard knows he talks about energy probably a little bit too much, but we tried to get some energy legislation passed that would have set up some of the systems we need to encourage clean energy, but also inexpensive energy. The more clean energy we had, the lower everybody's bills would be. And that's the kind of systems we need in place where making the right choice is what's rewarded. So yeah, we missed that one by one vote. So I guess that kind of ties into the message I have for the Green Party contributors out there, people thinking about maybe should I or shouldn't I? Well, if we had one more green seat versus a blue seat in that situation, we'd be years ahead of where we're going to be as we wait for a government that just doesn't really do a whole lot of major change, not the systemic changes that we need in our society to see these things come to fruition. So one vote, it was 12-13. If one of those seats went the other way, we would have seen some change. So I just urge everybody to consider, if you want some real change on this island, where, as Lynn Lund mentioned, it really is all about people at the heart of everything. The economy's there to serve people, not the other way around. So let's dig in deep. Let's all do what we can. I know the Green Caucus is, and I know all of our supporters out there will come through for us as well. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you so much, Steve. And, I think anybody that knows you knows that you've been dreaming years ahead of kind of where everybody else ends up catching up to years later. And so thank you for everything that you've done to keep proportional representation alive as something that's not just a dream, but will soon be a reality. And as well as everything that you've been doing to help us envision our energy future, because that is so important. If we want to do anything about climate change, it's going to involve changing our energy use wholesale. So thank you for being that champion. And you've all heard Steve mention, all we need is sometimes, one more green voice in the legislature can make a difference, and hopefully in the next election we can get a few more and maybe even form the government. If you want to contribute towards that and build up our hope chest, there are several ways that you can contribute tonight. And I'm just going to point above my head again to this handy background that has all the deets. So you can call us at 1-855-PE-GREEN. Maybe even speak to Carla. Maybe she'll do the lip trick over the phone for whatever it's worth there. So you probably want to see it though. She might organize something separate on the side. You can also text the word donate to 902-905-5330. You'll get a little link right to your cell phone to our donation page. So that makes it nice and easy. Or if you want to do it the new old-fashioned way, you can go to our website, greenparty.pe.ca/dream-a-thon donate. Remember that there are very, very generous tax credits on your political donations to the Green Party of PEI. So that's, you get $75 tax credit on the first $100 that you donate in a year, and the tax credits just keep on going until you hit 1,150. So it's a way that it's basically the public supporting those who put their money behind political parties and the work that we do to make democracy work. I'm going to turn it over to Susan now to introduce us to our next couple of performers.
Thanks, Jordan. It's so inspirational to listen to our MLAs. You know, what Steve was talking about to me shows how our party works right from membership, council, caucus, everybody working together, and we do that so well. And I want to give a particular shout out to Maria Rodriguez for her pushing the whole policy development process and helping people with that. And so, yeah, thanks, Steve, for that. You know, one thing I like to say about to people when they ask me how greens are different, I said, well, we really like to have fun and we know how to party. And I think any of you that have been to the Green Party events pre-COVID and our Dream-a-thon last year, there's a good chance you've seen and heard our Green Party band. And you've particularly heard these two individuals who we're going to see now, Catherine O'Brien and Perry Williams. And let's listen to them. They're going to sing a couple of songs that are very appropriate for the time that we're in, coming through a very difficult period with COVID, the potato crisis, war, an economic crisis, and needing to be able to look ahead with optimism that things will get better. So Catherine and Perry are going to help us to do that. They're going to start with I Can See Clearly Now, and they're going to follow that with To Love Somebody. Take it away, Catherine and Perry.
Hi everybody, I'm Catherine O'Brien, this is Perry Williams, and of course we're here for the wonderful Green Party virtual concert, and hope we can raise some money and also just celebrate everything there is to celebrate. We need a little of that. So here we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Excellent. Alrighty, so Here's another tune. There's a light, a certain kind of light that never shone on me. I want my life to be living with you, living with you. There's a way of everybody say. Do each and every little thing. What good does it bring if I ain't got you? Ain't got you. Baby, you don't know what it's like. Baby, you don't know what it's like to love somebody. Love somebody the way I love you. Well, in my brain, I see your face again. I know my frame of mind. You ain't got to be so blind, but I'm blind. So blind, 'cause I'm a man. Can't you see what I am? I live and I breathe for you. But what good does it do if I ain't got you? Ain't got you. Baby, you don't know what it's like. Baby, you don't know what it's like to love somebody the way I love you. Baby, you don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like to love somebody the way I love you.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Well, that was just beautiful. I think they just both have such amazing voices, and Perry's such a talented guitarist as well. It's just crazy what some people can do in one sitting, in one take there. So thank you very much, Catherine and Perry. And I'm going to invite our intrepid leader, Peter Bevan Baker, back up here as well. Now, the name Dream-a-thon actually was originally inspired by something that Peter was talking about back in 2020, when he he really called on us to be dreaming forward out of the pandemic. And Peter is somebody who I think has, just like I was saying with Steve, has been, dreaming big and having big visions, way before their years, and is now in the position of being the leader of the official opposition on Prince Edward Island. And Peter, I want to ask you now, what are you dreaming about these days? Has politics managed to keep your dreams alive? How are you dreaming these days?
Oh my gosh, Jordan. I mean, it's such a lovely question, and it's been a delight listening to my caucus mates respond to that. What am I dreaming about? Well, I'll tell you what I dream of, Jordan. I dream that I'm living on a beautiful island, and that I'm surrounded by lovely people who are smart and kind and hardworking, and that I'm doing really important work that the world needs and that I feel passionate about. So, you know what? I'm living my dream I absolutely am. And I can't tell you how fortunate I feel to be able to say that. And I'm not being cutesy here, it's absolutely true. I never, ever, ever imagined that I would be doing what I'm doing today. And I am one of the luckiest people in the world. You know, most folks on this call know the caucus I work with in the office and the people who run this party. It really is, and I'm not being facetious, I'm not being, again, not being cutesy about that. It's absolutely true. And dreaming is all about sort of having no limit and letting your imagination run wild and being visionary. And Greens have never had a problem with having big dreams and big visions. I think Lynn kicked off the Dream-a-thon saying a similar thing. And one of the ways that people describe politics is as the art of the possible. And, you know, some people think of politics as nothing but scheming and you know, partisanship, but it can be an art. And an art, of course, involves creativity, involves imagination. And I'd like to think that the way that Greens approach politics very much an art, and we're learning all the time. You know, we are a young party, and I think despite that, we have established ourselves here on this beautiful island as a political force, and a political voice that really is not being heard in the way that it is now, and I'm extraordinarily proud of that. One of the other questions you asked us, Jordan, was what are the highlights that keep me going? And you know, there were so many, but I just want to point to something that happened last week, and I think this is a good indicator of how our party has matured and sophisticated over the last 3 years that we've been in the House as the official opposition. And we had a motion on supporting paramedics and supporting paramedicine and bringing it inside the public healthcare system. And it was a long debate. It took 3 days and absorbed all of our time from Tuesday till Thursday afternoon. And we don't get time on a Friday. So it was our work of the week. And it takes a lot of discipline, and it also takes a lot of humility and making space for each other within the caucus to allow one motion, and we have, goodness, probably 20 on the floor ready to go. And everybody was there for each other. And we stood by that, and the mover and the seconder spoke, and a number of caucus spoke, and then people from all over the House spoke. And you lose control of a motion when it goes on the floor like that. And often other members of the legislature will speak longer than they need to on things, and things can get bogged down. That didn't happen here. We brought it to a vote, and it failed miserably. And you might think, well, what the heck was that all about? Except that it created a clear distinction between our caucus as being just who is supportive of public, who is supportive of creating good living and working conditions for, well, all workers. In this case, it was parents. So what looked like a failure in the House was an enormous win for us, because it creates that separation. And I know people have loved to talk about collaboration in the House, and to a certain extent that has been a really great thing, but it's made it very difficult for us to find our own voice and our own distinctive voice and our own separate voice. And the work that we did last week really accomplished that. And I think that it really showed the maturity of our caucus this is our plan, we're going to stick with this. And all of those other ideas that we're desperate to talk about in the limited time that we have in the House will be put aside, and we're going to accomplish this. And we did, and it was fantastic. So that's one of many, many highlights that keep me going. But you know what? You asked specifically, Jordan, what do I dream about? And one of the things when you live on Prince Edward Island, and I'm not from Canada even, never mind Prince Edward Island, is that you tend to be separated from your family. And one of the things I dream about is I'm sitting here in my little house in Bonshaw, and my daughter walks through the door with her fiddle and she plays a tune. That's really what Oh, you see, dreams really do come true on the Dream-a-thon.
Oh, that is so amazing to see three generations there all playing together.
This is little Georgie, my grandson.
Oh,
Anyway,
thank you,
thanks,
George.
Jordan, for that. That was awesome.
Yes, thank you so much, Peter. Wow, that's going to be a hard one to top there. I think all of us are bursting with green hearts, just like Susan is there. And so yeah, if you want to support more of that, if you want to have more political leaders who know how to raise a family that will burst into the room in a joyful song, then consider making a gift to the Green Party today. I see that we're up to over $3,400, almost $3,500. Thank you so much to Justin for sharing that. And looking above my head again, you've got a few different options if you'd like to make a donation today. And I'll just make an extra plug for anybody who might like to start a monthly donation. So we've got a number of monthly donors right now. We bring in just under $2,000 a month in monthly donations. And we have a goal this year to bring that up to $3,000 and beyond, because it's just such an important way of having that financial stable financial footing to be able to plan for the next election, which is only a year and a half away at this point. So even a $10 a month monthly donation will cost you the equivalent of a cup of coffee after the tax credits. So you'll hardly notice that the money's gone, but you know what? It really, really helps. So if you call or go to our website, you'll be able to start a monthly donation as well today. So I am going to now show you something a little bit different here than what we've seen so far. We've got a very creative member of the Green Party, Lenny Gallant. So that's Lenny with a Y. And he's goes under the name Birdmouse, both in his business and his TikTok account. And he's been doing some really creative things with stop motion animation recently. And he's allowed us to share a couple of his creations with you tonight. So let me cue up the first one for you. Doesn't that just make you want to do some claymation on your own? Thank you for allowing us to share that, Lenny, and we'll see another one of his creations a little later on. For now, I'm going to turn it back to Susan to introduce our next musical guests.
Wow, this evening is even better than I thought it was going to be. It's just dynamic and ever evolving and spontaneous, so it's great. You know, PEI's beauty both produces and attracts great creative talent, as we're seeing. And this talent in turn is inspired by that same beauty, the beauty of the island, which they reflect in their works. This is so true of David Whipper and his musical family, who we're going to get to meet. We're going to meet them all this evening, and who now call PEI South Shore home. David is an award-winning guitarist whose classical training blends with his background in film and pop music to create an original sound. He has a solid background in recording and concert performance, winning an AD Music Award for Best Performance by a Studio Musician. You can hear his distinctive style on the Grammy Award-winning hit Black Velvet with Atlanta Miles, Amanda Marshall, Dan Hill, Lulu, Rita Coolidge, and others. Right now, David is going to play us a guitar solo he calls Argyle Shore. Please enjoy David. Isn't that beautiful? David also, with his partner Hazel, makes music under the name of Whipper. Together, they've co-written and produced award-winning songs for Book Mice, a pro-literacy television series for children. They also created and produced songs celebrating Canadian heroes entitled Canadian Heroes and History, which included Canada by Canoe, a collaboration with Professor Kirk Whipper, founder of the Canadian Canoe Museum. Their instrumental CD, Voice Strings, was well received under release by Weltbild in German-speaking Europe under the title Indian Summer. Together, under the banner of Whipper, they are releasing a video for their new song, Be Here Now, which we are thrilled and honored to be debuting right here, right now. And it's just a beautiful rendition and pictorial of PEI. So here's David and Hazel Whipper, Be Here Now.
I can hear eternity knocking at my door. Thought I found security, not looking anymore. Some I know have traveled on, returning to the light. Though I will remember them, I'm here with you tonight. We cry and time flies. Be here stars at night, feel the wind on my face. Reminds me to be here now, not some other place. Another trip around the sun steals away the day. Time waits for no one in this human race. We try and time flies. Be here now. Knocking at my door. Be here now. I can hear eternity knocking at my door. Be here now. I can hear eternity knocking at my door. Be here now. I can hear eternity knocking at my door. I can hear eternity not looking anymore.
Wow, such a talented musical couple, and we'll still meet their daughter later on as well. Thank you so much for that, David and Hazel. And I'd like to bring Hannah up with me here now to chat a little bit. You there, Hannah?
I am. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I am not going to be expecting any musical guests unless my cat decides to have a meltdown, in which case all bets are off. I may have an unexpected visit from the teenager who does whatever she wants. But other than that, it's been great to listen to all the musical performances and to see all my colleagues and so many lovely visitors. So,
yeah.
So when Jordan asked us to, and Susan asked us to think about what we could share, my thoughts did not go to a comedy routine, I have to say. If I'm funny, it's by accident, not by planning. And usually I have no idea what happened and why anybody's laughing at me anyway. So I can't pull that off at the best of times. And sometimes I'm reminded, unfortunately, that after our esteemed leader, and Ola, I am one of the older members of our caucus. There are cultural references and life experiences that I'll mention in passing where I realize I'm talking about things that happened before some of my caucus members were born. So, but I think it's really important when we talk about the work that we do and who we are as representatives in the party and who we are as a party, that's something that we can really celebrate. Random and exciting and ordinary and everything about life experiences are what we bring with us to the House as representatives. So my crazy, strange journey and some of the very crazy, strange things that I have done that I may share with you at another point, maybe not today. I have stories about getting arrested and stories. There's some really good. Anyway, we're not going to go there. So I guess my point being that life experiences that across our caucus are remarkable because we're all individuals, but they're also remarkable because there's never been stories like ours in the House. From somebody like Peter, who has not only been, a dedicated Green his entire life, but has also been a working dentist. There's never been somebody like that elected in the House. There's never been, somebody who actually worked as a teacher. There's never been somebody who's run their own business in a difficult field, and there's never been people who have experience of life on the harder side. And it's that probably more than anything else, I think, has been one of the really fundamental things that we have brought to that space that I value every single day, is when you bring your life experience into a space that has never heard from anybody like you before, you change the conversation. And we affect change in what we think of perhaps as sometimes really small ways, but that have massive repercussions, because when people outside the House hear us stand up and talk about life as a single parent, or the challenges of trying to raise a kid who's neurodivergent, or how hard it is to get healthcare for women, or why people who go to the food bank or who are at the community outreach center deserve dignity. Nobody's ever heard that before from in there, and they're saying, I recognize that. I hear myself, I hear stories that I know that are real people stories. They're not stories about somebody who's not me. And we need more of that. So imagine what that would look like if we then have representatives in the House who are young people, way younger than me. I would love to see us select a 19-year-old. I would love to see us elect somebody who came here as a refugee or as an immigrant from another country who's not white. We need to hear voices. I would love for us to be the first party that elects somebody who is Indigenous. And I think that we can and we should do that, because we've already started on this path of being the party who takes on the really big changes and the really big topics, who takes on the things that nobody else is brave enough to talk about, whether they're really big, like climate change or poverty or inequity, social justice. But we make changes on a small scale that impact people in a big way. And sometimes we lose sight of those. We lose sight of how important it is to bring forward a motion that talks about period poverty, or about the need for equal pay, or about forestry, or about e-bikes, or about any of those things that would not be happening in that House if we weren't there to talk about it. We need to celebrate the small changes. Big changes come from small changes. Big changes come when people can see people like them. And the more that we do that, the more that we break down those barriers and bring people in who can see themselves and their communities reflected, the more we will affect change that really matters. I'm so proud to be a member of this party and of this team. And I would love for you to show us any support you can to help us reach and expand who it is that sits in that space and gets to share their stories next. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Hannah. That's a great call to action and a dream I think that we can accomplish together. So I just got an update there that we're up to almost $3,800 in donations. So thank you so much. There's a few different ways that you can donate if you still haven't and would like to. You can call our volunteers who are waiting on the other end at 1-855-PE-GREEN. Text the word donate to 902-905-5330, or you can visit our website at greenparty.pe.ca/dream-a-thon donate, and we will add what you donate to the total. Let's get it over $4,000 here, right? I'm gonna turn it back now to Susan to introduce our next artist.
Thanks, Jordan. Let's get it to $4,000 in the next 4 minutes, and then we'll keep going. Again, I'm really honored to introduce our next guest, Yvette Doucette. She's a friend, she's a poet, a writer, an educator who lives in Charlottetown. When I started the Women's March in Charlottetown, I put the call out for a poet, and Yvette stepped up, and so I've had the privilege of hearing some of her original work as she's created it. She's written and performed both poetry and monologues at the Guild in Charlottetown as part of solo works, on Victoria Row as part of a Summer in Jazz and Poetry on the Street series, organized by fellow poet and educator Richard Lem. In 2006 and 2007, she was commissioned by the CBC to participate in the island portion of the CBC Poetry Face-Off. For 6 years, Yvette facilitated after-school creative writing groups for students at Bluefield High and for young women writers aged 12 to 17, Saturday mornings in her own home in Charlottetown. She won the 2011 Island Literary Award for Young Writers Service and was awarded the Distinguished Award for Distinguished Contribution to the Literary Arts of PEI in 2013. So please join me and listen to Yvette Doucette.
Baked beans. For years, I wanted a bean crock. As soon as I had a proper bean crock, I would figure out how to make baked beans like Grammy. Baked beans were one of her specialties. Grammy Rose made hers in a fat brown crockery pot with 2 handles on either side, just big enough for an index finger and thumb to grasp through a tea towel acting as an oven mitt, and a round lid that sat down inside the raised edge of the crock. As far as ingredients go, I know she used dried mustard powder, a slab of pork belly, molasses and sugar, and an onion. I figured I would be able to reproduce something similar to hers if I had a bean crock. That seemed the essential bit to the magic of baked beans. Early on in my keep your eyes open, mostly passive search for a bean crock, I was home to PEI for a vacation from Toronto, Ontario. I found the perfect one, bigger than Graham's had been, gorgeous, shiny, dark brown, and I was told by the seller at the antique shop in a house outside of Montague that it was about 50 years old. I was thrilled. Finally, I could make baked beans. However, I also had a wedding I was shopping for that summer. And as my holiday evaporated, I found no present that spoke to longevity, family, and comfort was worthy or interesting enough for my dear friend Anne-Marie, another Islander, and her Ontario man with Cape Breton roots. So I gave them the bean crock. I assured myself that since I had found one so easily, finding another would likely be much the same. I can't say I advertised my ongoing desire for a bean crock, but I absolutely kept my eyes open for one at flea markets, yard sales, and antique shops. How hard could it be to find a bean crock? 20 years passed. Should I look into manufacturing them? I mused one day. Maritimers, and I'm sure others, love baked beans, right? What if 1 million people were looking for one just like me? Was this a great invisible business idea? I put it up in residence behind one of the wee doors in my head, the red manufacturing door in the subtitle drawer called Things from the Past, itemized traditional island bean crock business, tagline, make beans as tasty as your gram. At some point over this 20 years, I had found myself living back on PEI's shores. Eventually, Facebook was a thing, and eventually Facebook Marketplace. One day before leaving work, I logged onto Facebook and up jumped a sales notification I had sassily set. A bean crock, $10 in good condition in Charlottetown. I contacted the seller and popped by that evening. The lid was cracked, but the old woman was nice, and it had been her mother's or her grandmother's. She said she didn't use it anymore. Her husband had died or her sons had moved out. I forget the trajectory of abandonment. And she said that the hairline cracks, which didn't go all the way through, did not affect the baking of beans. My mind instantaneously invented a substance that mended cracked china, porcelain, and such. It would be non-toxic, withstand heat, and mend things like bean crock lids. But wait, perhaps it already exists. Some of my ideas turn out to be already on this side of reality. I checked later. Yes, Japan, gold, kintsugi. Not sure how to pronounce that or go about it, but I absolutely love that idea. Well, $10 for her mom's, possibly grandmother's, cracked lid crock seemed more than fair. Then as I stood there, perhaps a beat too long, she said $8 would be fine. I felt bad, but I paid $8. You can't insult your elders. And I took my bean crock home. I washed it and set it on my buffet where I would see it daily. No excuses now. Baked beans, baked beans, baked beans. Several months later, or 8 or 9, I decided on a Thursday to make them for the weekend. My older brother loves baked beans and he was coming to visit. But what kind of beans? I remembered hard little white beans. Did they have a black spot on them? In my mind, I saw them spread across my Gram's 70s red tabletop because she sorted them for stones with my help on occasion before putting them to soak. I went to the superstore and located the dried beans section. The brands were President's Choice, which were cheaper, or Maritime Grown. The design on the bag of Maritime Grown beans showed a small farm down on the left side, and in the middle, growing up and behind and beyond the old-fashioned lettering written on a kind of medieval banner, was a giant beanstalk that spiraled up into an imaginary sky. Genius artistry. Clearly, Maritime Grown would be the better beans. Having decided to purchase my beans based on packaging, I now had to choose the variety. They had about 8 kinds, but no little white ones. Who could choose just one? Why not mix them? I chose 3 different varieties of beans since the directions were identical on the back of the bags. Jacob cattle beans, which are beautiful, purpley and speckled, and 2 others about the same size whose names escape me now. At home, I mixed some from each until I had weighed out 2 pounds to match the amount in each original bag. Each bag, as I said, had a recipe on the back, but who trusts the recipe on the back of a bag? It did include all of Graham's ingredients, all that I could remember, so I decided to use it as a base. I refused to Google, and I did not pick up a cookbook. Did you know you have to soak hard beans overnight or for 12 hours? Well, you can apparently boil them or something, but that was obviously a shortcut only pretend bean bakers used, and I was not. After soaking, you boil them for 5 minutes and then reduce heat for about 30 minutes or so and simmer till tender. You pull out a hot bean and then blow on it. If the skin cracks, the bag said, then they're close to being done. Close. I found this ambiguity even more ambiguous in practice. When are they done? Turns out All they can tell you, again on the back of the bag, is that beans simmered too long will be mushy and not enough will be hard. This because apparently beans will soften very little after the sugars hit them. I learned that later and will tell you about it in the postscript. Amazingly, after the soaking and boiling and simmering, you combine all ingredients and put in a crock and bake, covered at 300 degrees for 4 to 6 hours, checking and stirring gently at least twice and topping up with water if they're drying out. They do stay more or less the same texture as when you put them in the pot, but a tiny bit softer, a lot browner, and a whole lot tastier. Then there was the first bean crock issue. It was far too small for 2 pounds of beans re-plumped up. They would not fit, no way, seriously. I pulled out my green cast iron Dutch oven, made in France, and Grammy was French. So, okay, I thought, and I used it as well. Do not at this point think, please, that I could have done that all alone. For the bean sauce, I did follow the recipe on the Maritime Beans bag mainly, but added a 1/4 cup of pomegranate molasses because pomegranate molasses, and about a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of coffee because Receiver Coffee House used to make coffee beans and they were good. And I thought the bitter and the sour and sweet would be nice with baked beans, as the only issue I've ever had with them when I eat them out is that they're too sweet, and too sweet equals yuck in my book. I put several slabs of back bacon in each pot. I divided the pre-cooked beans into 2 portions as appropriate to the size of the crock and the Dutch oven, and split the chopped onion and the sauce between them in the same fashion, and popped them into the preheated oven. After 2 hours elapsed, I checked them. The beans in the smaller bean crock with the finely cracked lid had dried out a bit more than in the Dutch oven, so I added a piece of parchment under the lid, topped up the water to just underneath the beans, and that solved the issue. 3 hours later, and down, 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 down out of my mind and memory and onto the plate came the beans I had imagined. I played with the recipe a few more times after that and decided on the following: baked beans a la Grammy and me. Put 2 pounds of beans to soak overnight. In the morning or when you are ready, put beans in water with about 1 inch or so above and bring to a boil. Boil for about 5 minutes. Then let simmer for about 45 minutes. I leave the lid on, sort of more than half covered, but not completely. Do the blow on the bean test at the 35-minute mark. For this many beans, you can use what you have that will fit them, or 2 containers like me. Likely I could just use the Dutch oven, but I don't want to because bean crock saga. Put several pork belly slabs on the bottom of the pots, or omit for vegetarians. I often make the small crock with no pork so I can have both options. For the sauce, 8 teaspoons of dried mustard, 1 cup of molasses, no sugar, despite the Maritime Bean bag calling for 1 cup, 3 teaspoons of salt, a 1/2 cup of tomato paste, a 1/4 cup of pomegranate molasses, a teaspoon and a half of fresh ground pepper, 2 knuckles of fresh ginger, a 1/2 cup of coffee, and I use it to make it very strong, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, 2 large onions, chopped fine. You can mix the beans with the sauce in 1 big bowl and ladle them into your dishes, and then add warm water enough to cover the beans in each dish. Make sure the lids are tight. Put the parchment paper, if you have a cracked lid. Bake at 300 degrees for 5 hours approximately, and check every 1.5 hours and stir them gently, gently. Top up the water to just below the bean surface if it looks like they're drying out. Postscript. Now that I am all like goddess of baked beans, I put a batch to soak a few days ago. In the morning, I made a fantastic sauce, got everything arranged, put the beans to bake, and 2 hours later, I realized I hadn't cooked them. Don't do that. Once I had cooled and rinsed them off, I put them outside and the birds seemed to like them. Postscript. I use curry powder. Yummy. I have given away my small crock to my brother. I found a super large one on Marketplace. Now I make 4 pounds at a time and I freeze most in small containers. They're perfect for Saturday morning brunch or anytime with biscuits. So delicious. With love from Grammy and me.
Thank you very much, Yvette, for that story slash recipe and cautionary tale as well. I know I've definitely gained a huge appreciation for baked beans since I came to PEI in particular. So I think I might steal your Grammy's recipe and learn from your mistakes. So I'm going to ask Ola to join us now. Now, Ola is currently in Halifax. He was just at a exhibition on the Ark, which he was one of the architects of back in 1976. So Ola, are you with us here right now?
I am, yeah. Can
Great.
you hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can.
Well,
thanks so much for joining us.
it's really, I can't, it'd be hard to follow all the good acts. Anyway, the first Ark exhibit, actually, the same exhibit started in about 5 years ago in Charlottetown and was a big reason that I joined the Green Party and became a politician in the first place. Anyway, this season I've really been enjoying being the critic of transportation and infrastructure. And indeed, there's a lot to be done. Some stuff is being done. We're getting more bus routes and we're getting subsidies for electric cars, but still it seems like not fast enough. And even if we have more bus routes, what about the people who don't live near bus routes? What if the bus isn't running when they need to go? How are we going to handle all that? And I have had this idea for a while now. For God's sake, we already have about 100,000 cars and pickup trucks on PEI. Why do we need to buy anything? Why don't we just utilize them better? Just think, for every car that is filled with 4 people, it's just one person, we'll have 3 less cars on the roads. The cost of doing whatever driving you do is cut in quarter. And plus the good company you'll have on the way. And unlike public buses, small personal cars can pick you up where you live and drop you off where you need to go. Like a win-win-win situation. Still, when I tell people, they say, Ola, you are dreaming. And when they say that, they don't mean it in a good way, like a dream-a-thon. They think like I am nuts. And they start talking about all the problems, like what about who do I know is coming into my car that I want to share it with, or the other way. I'm really worried about just stepping into a car and what kind of nut might be driving it. And they're all good reasons, but I still think it can be done. And I bring it all back to the story about from the Second World War when 200,000 Allied troops were stranded at Dunkirk. They marshaled, I think, about 3,000 pleasure boat owners in Britain, and they sailed across the channel and saved all the soldiers. And now we're really lucky. You can share your cars without worrying about bullets or German fighter bombers. But I completely understand that there are problems with sharing a car. There are issues like insurance. How do you split the bill? How do you find out who you're traveling with and what's their record? I think every concern could be solved. But I would really like to hear, if you could dream a little, go to bed tonight and dream about how you would consider either sharing your car or what are the conditions you have for riding with somebody else. I would really like to hear about that. so we can do something. It's really low-hanging fruit. It's if we can get something like this to work, nobody needs to invest any money. It's all, we have all the cars here, and it's even better as we get more electric cars. But we can just do it. If the islanders are very generous, I know. So what will it take for you to be generous with your car driving? What would it take you to share your car with others? Please let me know.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Jordan.
much, Ola. That's a really great thing for us all to think about. And I think we're really lucky to have somebody like you who has, you know, a history of thinking differently about, you know, housing and transportation in the legislature and bringing up these ideas, because you know, there's so many things that we just kind of have taken for granted in our lives, and that we know that we need to change and can change. So that's something to dream about for sure. Thank you so much, Ola.
You're welcome. Take care. Great show.
Thank you. So we're gonna, I promised you we'd see another one of Lenny Gallant's stop motion animations. So I'm gonna share that with you right now. Fun stuff. I'm going to let Susan introduce our next very special musical guest now.
Thank you, Jordan, and I love Lenny's humor. Yes, and I think we have 2 more musical guests, and I encourage everybody to stick around for that and take a moment to contact some of our people on the phones waiting for your call. So our next musical performer really needs no introduction, or at least very little introduction. Dennis Ellsworth is a songwriter, performer, and producer from Charlottetown. He began writing songs in high school. Over the years, he's moved around, spending time in Edmonton, Alberta, and living in Toronto, where he lived for 6.5 years. He's now based in his hometown of Charlottetown. His resume includes collaboration with Josh Finlayson and Andy Mays of Skydiggers, Gord Downey of the Tragically Hip, Joel Plaskett, and David Barb of Sugar, and foremost producer of the Athens, Georgia-based group Drive By Truckers. His work bridges a variety of styles from folk to rock and roll to chill electro pop. He's got 10 albums to his name since 2009. His most recent is a self-produced collection called Common Senseless, recorded in his hometown with longtime collaborator Adam Gallant. The record is a rumination on our ridiculous behavior. It's a lighthearted commentary about the places Dennis hopes we aren't heading, what we dream we don't go to. Today, Dennis Ellsworth is sharing a very current song called Modern Hope that I'm sure many of us can relate to.
Hey folks, my name's Dennis Ellsworth. I'm a Charlottetown singer-songwriter. I'd like to play a song called Modern Hope for you. It's a real pleasure to be part of this Green Party fundraiser. Thanks for having me. Hope we do good things. All right. Russia's planning missile testing somewhere off the Irish coast. Hearts are breaking every hour for Mother Nature's ghost.
Some of us are wasting away, trying to sort out what to post. But chances are the dreamers are still dreaming, and we all know that's never gonna change. And I'm alright. Yeah, I'm alright. Walking in the woods will keep everyone from going broke. And if you frame your mind with something beautiful, you've got some modern hope. Chances are the damned are still complaining. Oh, we know that's never gonna change. But I'm alright. Yeah, I'm alright. And I hope you are the same. I hope you are the same.
Wow, such a hauntingly beautiful song there from Dennis. Thank you so much, Dennis, for contributing that that to us tonight. And now I have the pleasure of bringing our final of the 8 MLAs up with me here, and that's Michelle Beaton. And Michelle actually, you know, I think it was about a year ago that I first learned that she has a hidden talent as well, or at least one that she had been hiding from the Green Party for a little while. And that's a beautiful karaoke singing voice. And I believe that she is planning on singing something for us tonight. Are you, Michelle?
I'm going to, I gotta say, like, I'm more nervous doing this than standing up and taking on some of the folks in the legislature. But yes, I'm going to give it a go tonight.
I'm glad to hear that, Michelle.
So I just need, give me a second here. Okay. So this is a song I'm going to share. This is a song that I come back to. I've come back to it many times over my life. It's a Whitney Houston song. And kind of whenever I feel I'm on the brink of something really great happening in my life, then this song seems to pop up in my mind. And I have to say, I feel like I'm working right now with a group of really fantastic people that are on the brink of something really wonderful. And it's just one of those things that, you know, if we get our chance, I think that we can do absolutely incredible things here in this island. And, you know, it's not about the, I like how we call this the hope chest, and other parties we now call it a war chest. For us, I don't think it's really like that. I think it's really, how do we do something that's just really big and beautiful that's going to help everybody. So bear with me. I've never, ever done this before, unless I have a microphone in my hand and maybe a drink. And so if it sounds terrible, just tell me it sounded great anyway, and that would be all good. All right. Each day I live, I want to be
a day to give the best of me. I'm only one, but my finest day is yet unknown. I broke my heart for every game. You taste the sweet. I face the pain. I rise and fall, yet through it all, this much remains. I want one moment in time when I'm more than I thought I could be. Oh, my dreams are a heartbeat away, are all up to one moment in time when I'm racing with destiny. And I one moment I will feel it. I plan to be the very best. I want it all, no time for less. I've laid the plans, now lay the checks. Here in my hand, give me one moment in time when I'm more than I thought I could be. All of my dreams are a heartbeat away, are all up to me. One moment in time, racing with destiny. In the moment, I will feel eternity. You and I, for a lifetime. If you seize that one moment in time, I'm racing with destiny. One moment of time will be a free.
Awesome. Bravo, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you so much. And, you've actually set a precedent now. We didn't know we could do pandemic karaoke over Zoom before now, but you've just proven that it is possible. So, yeah, this is gonna have to be a thing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Susan
Yeah.
is going to introduce our Well, actually, we have two performances left. So
Yeah.
our penultimate performance.
Yes, and I'll just have to get back in my seat after my standing ovation. Thank you, Michelle, so much. So earlier we met David and Hazel Whipper and saw the debut of their video, Be Here Now. You may have wondered who the other young woman in the video was, and Jordan gave you a hint about that. And it is indeed their daughter, who clearly inherited her parents' musical genes and goes by the stage name of Eileen, which is Gaelic for island. Eileen is a Celtic New Age romantic rock music artist, and she brings an otherworldly taste of magic to her music. From singing of the Scottish moors to the lighthouses, rough seas, gardens, magic, and ghost ships, she will take you on a journey to another place in time, but you're sure to recognize the distinctive red shores of her South Shore PEI home. She shared a music video she made to accompany her very PEI song, Lighthouse.
Words shining like stars inside the pages of an old book. I follow the North Star, and when the clouds rush in, I don't look. I live my life like a lost soul, lonely passenger aboard, crashed into a rocky shore. How many like me been before? I'm like a ghost ship sailing on a dead sea, waiting for the right heart to rescue me. Come and shine your bright light for me on this dark shore. Say you'll be my lighthouse. Will you be my lighthouse? Can I be your shipwreck? Will you come find me in this blackness? Pounding waves pouring in until what's left is blindness. I'm in a dream I can't wake up from, and I'm never sleeping. Crashed into a rocky shore, and I'm still in darkness like before. I'm like a ghost ship sailing on a dead sea, waiting for the right heart to rescue me. Come and shine your bright light for me on this dark shore. Say you'll be my lighthouse. Will you be my lighthouse? Fog is lifting, I'm still drifting, almost breaking on your shore. On the ground to hear the sound of your voice. Call me to your door. I'm like a ghost ship sailing on a dead sea, waiting for the right heart to rescue me. Come and shine your bright light for me on this dark shore. Say you'll be my lighthouse. I'm like a ghost ship waiting for the right heart. Come and shine your bright light. Will you be my lighthouse? Say you'll be my lighthouse. Will you be my lighthouse? Shine just like a lighthouse. Will you be my lighthouse?
Thank you so much, Eileen. That was just beautiful. And, you know, we've had a wonderful evening of new to us talent, perhaps, and the familiar faces of the people that have contributed to our scene, our music scene on the island for so long. And we're so grateful that they've contributed to the Green Party for the evening, and to those of you who have made donations. And I want to remind you that donations don't end when we leave tonight. You can continue to make donations through our website. And thank you again for all that generosity. So I'm going to take it back to Teresa Doyle, who is going to send us out with a very fitting interpretation of Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World." So Teresa.
This is a song that I've been meaning to learn for a few decades, and this was the winter, because I think we all need to be reminded that it is a wonderful world. And yeah, some things are seriously going wrong, but it's up to us to remember that it's a wonderful world and work to preserve it. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright precious days and dark sacred nights. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky. They're also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I see children cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I could ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Thank you so much. And oh, sorry, Jordan, you were going to speak.
Oh, no, that's all right. You go ahead, Susan.
Yeah, that's just a moment to pause and a moment to think with that beautiful song and Teresa's beautiful rendition of it. So thank you all, everybody that came out. Thank you to our MLAs for participating in the way you did. Thank you to our volunteers who contributed to make this happen. Thank you, Jordan, and Justin for the tech and the savvy to get this all going and all the recordings. And of course, to all our artists who have contributed their talent and their time. So I hope everyone has a good evening, and I'm going to give Jordan the last words.
Oh, just to echo what Susan said, I want to wish everybody a good night, and thank you so much for all of the contributions, financial, musical, stories, everything today, dreams and hopes. So I hope that you have sweet dreams tonight, and we'll consider that to be a real win for the Green Party if you do. Good night, everyone.
Good night.